Hi, friends. Welcome to today's long form video that will be on YouTube and streaming on podcast. So, I really wanted to look into Cassie Ventura's birth chart along with her recent son. I think that to me, nothing screams more karmic than that. Healing your first life, the first wind of your life, while you are creating the seed. And so I have been wanting to do this so bad. And so here we are. Um, just for those of you who are not familiar with my work, my name is Bria Samai. I am a karmic astrologer. I specialize and focus on the world of karma, which is simply merging the past, present, and future together because we are multidimensional. We are open to receiving this concept now with us going into the age of Aquarius. So you can time travel, we can time travel. The goal is to merge time. So when it comes to my reading style, I really incorporate that into everything. And my techniques are coming from working with entrepreneurs all over the world, people from all walks of life, where we have done a complete overhaul of their life with a private mentorship. So I'm really proud of what I have to share. And so let's see what we can come up with Cassie Ventura and her son. At first, I thought she was having a girl, and then I just looked it up right now and I saw that it's really a son. So let's dive into this to see what we can get. Okay. Now, who is she? I have to be honest to say that I'm not really familiar with her professionally. Of course, we know her millennial hit song, It's Me and You. Um, Personal opinions aside, I think it's always really interesting when a female orbits a very popular mainstream artist and not anticipating what this would come with, how much you wanted to be famous and seen. I feel that, I just, to me, this feels like common sense or something like natural bumpers. You could expect to get some interesting experiences again when you orbit around such huge celebrities that are into the thug life, into a living on the edge. They made a name and a brand for it. They are in this conspiracy world of how involved they are with other rappers. I am somebody who is very, let's be for real about it. Okay. And yes, it can be so easy to get wrapped into situations. And I think it's her truth as well. But at the same time, we got to give some accountability. And I'm going to say why I feel this way when it comes to accountability for Cassie's part in this whole thing. And I do think that um, when I look at her synastry with Diddy, it looks very accomplice ish. And, is there a world where we can talk about the people that were in the crossfires for Cassie? I understand she was a victim, but I also think, her story affected other people too. And we'll get into that in a whole different world, but this is again my opinion and my version of holding everybody accountable for their stuff. Okay. I would personally love to see Cassie at some point recognize, own up, honor the people that she may have thrown under the bus because of her situation. Maybe she has. I know that she has a book, right? Again, I'm very unfamiliar with her, but maybe she has already done this in her life. But I think that would be a huge step for her, a huge step towards accountability. All right. So Cassie is coming in as a Virgo sun, Taurus moon, and we're not looking at houses. We don't have times for her son. So disregard that. But we can still tell so much just from the planets and where they are. So, Virgo sun, if you guys have watched my work before, I've said this before. If you have strong placements in Virgo, it is your duty to consciously be aware of the God that you serve. And why do I say this? Virgo is one of the signs of servitude. And the other sign is Pisces. This is the oppositional axis point. Virgo has such a strong sense of being seen as the supportive figure. It builds its ego around it. So for us who look at Virgo on the side and just go, how do they help so much? Well, if you think about it, that's how they build their ego. Their self esteem comes from the support that they can give. And Virgo's the earth sign. So the support is practical. It's, I'm going to pick up the mail. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to do this there. And so it thrives off being able to help and support, and it builds their sense of self comes from that. So because of this, I tell all my Virgo placements, especially if you're watching this as a Virgo, who is your God? What is the God that you serve? Because that's what you're going to follow the rules of, whether it's government, whether it's a a job. Yes, whether your the God you're serving is your religion, um whatever it is that you are putting up before you, above you, is going to be what you need to be very conscious of, because very much this could be a subconscious thing that you do. What, whatever you were taught from age 0 to 7 is what you're going to default to. And if it doesn't serve you, then it's going to have to change. You're going to have to change that as an adult so it does serve you. Because of course, not all institutions or leaders or management is going to have your best interest at heart. So one of my biggest teachings for Virgo is know the God that you serve. Now, her moon is in Taurus. And this is perhaps not the case. We do not have her time. It is possible that her no, that her moon is in Gemini, but honestly, for myself, based off of how she looks, I really do anticipate that she has a Taurus moon. And the reason this makes so much sense to me is because her moon, it would be functioning under a karmic bind, um, being ruled by Venus, her having the South Node in Venus, her South Node being conjunct Venus. She does not have a very strong Venus in this chart. If anything, I consider her Venus under arrest. It is an extremely karmic planet for her, very difficult. And the South Node, as we know, is your comfort zones. And as a karmic astrologer, I base so much of my work. Was I going to sing right now? I base so much of my work off of the South Node and North Node, because everything defaults there in my world. Trust me, it works. If you do this long enough, you'll become a millionaire, is what I keep telling people, because I've seen it happen through my clients. But the idea that her South Node is in a Libra and a Venus sign ruled by Venus, she's got a super strong Venus in Libra, and her moon is in Taurus ruled by Libra. She's got a super strong karmic contract that she cannot leave her karma, aka her room, dirty. For you to go into your life path, into what you're here to accomplish, she has not allowed herself to leave things unlearned or unfinished. And it is so loud. To me, this is one of the indicators that this is probably one of her first lifetimes aiming to accomplish this mission. We usually say that it takes 3 lifetimes to fulfill one mission. And to me, this to her chart to me looks very early stages of tackling this soul mission, because it is so concrete in her reality, in her conscious world, that she will have to address very toxic relationships before she comes into her life path. So that is so important, because you know that her moon is going to take her to those people. Her moon being debilitated in my world in a weak space is going to say, I want the luxury that other people have. And I've wanted this for a lot of lifetimes. And this is security to me. So her moon is what took her straight into someone like Diddy, which, by the way, he has a lot of planets in Libra. So I'm telling you, their chart is they were meant to meet each other. They have had past lives of power dynamics. Absolutely. We can do that in another video. But for Miss Ventura over here, that moon is because it's so weak and debilitated. It allowed her to lower her values and ethics, which is what Taurus stands for. It is to see her story. It is anti-Taurus. Taurus sincerely would have a really hard time watching so much injustice around them and not try to get out of it. I don't want to say sooner or just even not go into it at all because we cannot judge her journey at the end of the day. But Taurus would have had a really difficult time just allowing and witnessing so much of that mistreatment towards everybody. But again, who's going to triumph? It's going to be her Virgo sun that says, I'm serving you. She's serving Diddy. Also, by the way, Diddy's moon is in Virgo. So they were absolutely serving each other. And that was their understanding. And I wish more people had that perspective where there was something that she initially got out of this, and it ended up in a very twisted karmic way. But it's not all her and being innocent, is what I want to say. She's got a lot to learn in this situation. And, this actually takes us all the way into her Saturn, because her Saturn in Sagittarius says, I'm not sure what my beliefs are. Okay. Now we are with this combination of a very impressionable Taurus moon that is weakened in this chart. You can flash anything in front of her and she'll disregard her values because it brings her status and it brought her a connection, right? So the South Node in Libra is working through codependency. So her moon's taking her to all those comfort zones. And then her Saturn in Sagittarius says, what do you believe in? What are your truth? What is your truth? What is your backbone? Saturn says, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I haven't put time into it. Well, you're scheduled to in this lifetime, Miss Cassie Ventura. Saturn in Sagittarius says at some point you will be put up against the wall so you can find your faith, so you can find your higher truth. And actually, it's been my experience that people who have Saturn in Sagittarius, um, natives who have this in their birth chart, tend to be atheist. They kind of just go the route of atheism, and they write it off as, well, if and when, if I'm just not even gonna focus on that. And it's like, no, you're actually here to define it. You're here to put a sentence together. You're here to say, my truth is, I believe in, and if you're not doing this, you're skipping out on this very important karmic journey that you're supposed to go on. All right. So here again, Cassie gets put into very difficult situations, and she's got a debilitated moon, and her Saturn is also learning the ideals of what morals look like and why they're so important. There's a saying they say, if you don't fall for something, you fall for anything. I probably butchered that, but you guys know what I mean. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. That is Cassie. She came into this lifetime to develop a backbone. And that's everything to do with the North Node in Aries. Okay, the North Node in Aries says you've got to figure yourself out. Who are you on the sense of identity? Put some morality into your name, because you haven't done this in past lives. You have walked a path where you've silenced yourself for the status and comfort of your surroundings. And so she comes in to really do a philosophical journey of who am I and where do I stand in all of this. Now, as if this isn't tricky enough, she also has to work through her throat chakra, which is speaking it, saying it. So it's not enough for her to just um, discover her truth and her morality. She then has to speak it, write it, channel it. Why? She's got Chiron in Gemini. That same Chiron that forced her to stay silent and be silent will also have to be her healer, in that she's got to get this out for her to heal truly. And this is difficult. This has been a very difficult thing for her to do. She went MIA for a really long time. We understand it. She saw a lot of hard things, and she had to heal that behind closed doors. Now, a little side note that I find interesting is that she had to go through the legal system. She's also contracted to go through the legal system with having Mars in Capricorn. Her way of getting justice and creating a sense of self is by getting legal justice. And that is important for the soul contract. So here we are. Cassie goes through this very traumatic decade-long relationship that's scripted into her birth chart. And then she frees herself by holding him accountable, being in court. But the craziest thing that I think is she does this pregnant. Like, that is wild AF to me, because her child is taking all of this in. You know what it is like to be under stress in general as a pregnant woman, but having to do a testimony where you exercise the throat chakra, a very serious pain point where you have to speak up for yourself. It's so karmic, which is where we're going to get into her son. But something else that I wanted to know is that she did write a book, right? So she is exercising her Chiron healing, which is, those are good signs, but she's still doing it in a very Venusian way, where she's making it artistic. I don't think this is bad, but I think it's important to note because she's still probably not allowing the world to see the ugly part of it. And that is a very Libran trait. Think Kim Kardashian. You don't see any ugly there. Everything is a performance of beauty. And that's actually Venusian magic. I'd be interested to know if her book has, oh, shoot, you guys are hilarious. You guys have been looking at the wrong chart this whole time. Well, you know what? I'm going to put the right one on. I'm going to put the right one on so you guys look at that the whole time. All right, so let's take a look at her son. Okay, like, what? Again, we don't have the time of birth for her son, but we're still going to get so much information out of it. So he is a Gemini sun, Gemini moon, and we don't have the rising, but I think it's actually pretty intense if you already know where I'm going with this. Where does this chart fit in her? So let's talk a little bit about her son. Her son is here to speak Gemini. He's got a stellium in Gemini. You've got Mercury, Mars, Mercury, Sun, Moon, Jupiter. I believe that this son in particular is going to keep her legacy going. So there is a sense of fighting that he will have. Hello, he's got Saturn at 0 degrees of Aries. He is very much going to fight for his mom's story. And it is probably her son that's going to share more of her ugly side, or the ugliness that she went through, because she doesn't have the bandwidth. I think it would be nice if she did it on her own, but I think that she's got way too much Taurus Venus in this lifetime to be that vulnerable. I would be shocked. I would want that for her. You're going to ask me, does she have to? Not necessarily, but you're already in the public eye. You've had such a public case. You want people to buy your book. So again, I want you guys to tell me if her book goes into this, but I do think her son is going to be a person who talks more about her story. And I think the reason he's going to be compelled to do this is because of the correction, the refinements. The South Node in Virgo says, you guys are lying on her. You got this story wrong. And I have way too much Gemini in me to not correct you. So I do think that as he gets older, like way into his older years, that he will come out and say, this is wrong and this is the right story. However, nevertheless, he's here to be in the flow. He's here to be in the Piscean expression of compassion and forgiveness, which tells me that even though his mother has forgiven, I think that this son will have a harder time forgiving what he was put through in a very sacred time of his life, which is the gestational period. This child is absolutely going to remember the pain that the mother was in, and the sorrow and the grief and the embarrassment and the shame that she had to speak while creating him. And that is why I wanted to see, what is the soul contract and how does this all interlay? And the truth is, and we're going to put both charts up here and I'm going to let you see it, if I can figure this out, you know. I'm going to see my whole desktop. You guys ignore everything else you see on my desktop. I'm probably going to just edit it out. But what do we see here is that her son had a contract to be the breath and the life force and the air force to his mother. All of his Gemini energy pushed out and birthed Cassie's voice. It all landed on her Chiron. And so the soul contract that this son and mother have is, I will come in and help you fight this. His Saturn and his Venus primarily is on her North Node, which says, I will make this beautiful for you. I will help you create a fight worth honoring, worth beautifying, worth seeing the beauty in it. I actually think that in a past life, they were a daughter, 100% in a past life, they were mother-daughter. Because number one, when I just realized that she had given birth, I thought it was a daughter. Is it a daughter? Let me check. And number two, I see it in the chart. Let's see. I think she had a boy. What's her name? Cassie gave birth to, yeah, baby boy. So yeah, he's a boy in this lifetime. I think in a past life, they've had mother-daughter relationships. And so here he is, providing the masculine energy that she literally, actually, that's so cool. That's so cool. If she had been pregnant with a woman, a female, her Venus would have taken over. She wouldn't have had that energy. But given that this was a male, it literally produced and balanced her so much that it gave her that courage. Because think about it, she's a woman with a detrimental Venus in her chart, has to come into the masculine, has to come into her Mars, has to come into her activation of the defense and the survival and the I am journey. And she carries a male who is carrying a significant amount of Aries in him, holding up that space for her as an anchor. She will have to work on not being codependent on this with this son, because she will attribute so much of her strength to him. And her job into adulthood is to not be codependent on him, because they will be close. He will be her hero. But at the end of the day, she needs to develop those skills on her own, which is why I'm telling you, she's done a lot of work. she's done a lot of work, but I still need her as her unofficial karmic astrologer and teacher. I still need her to say something on her own in the future, because there's been so much support from others, believe it or not. Yeah, we still need to see more accountability for her on her own, and it would be nice to have her vocalize that independently. So here her son is, and her son anchors so much of that masculine energy for her. But you know what? He sacrificed himself because this son will now have Chiron in Aries, which said, I was born into survival mode. And I think that's true. What do you guys think? He's in his gestational phase, he's in a courtroom, and his mom is talking about the most shameful experience of her life, and he will carry that with him. Again, this is contracted for him to heal. There's there's a reason in his soul's archetype that he wants to use this lifetime to heal it. So it's not like Cassie cursed him or something like that. Nothing at all. It's more of the it glove fits. I have this wound on my soul. I'm going to come into this woman. We're going to help each other fix it. I'm going to help her speak out her truth. She's going to help me heal, or she's going to create the environment I need to heal this wound of lack of initiation, or too much or too little. And I think that this guy, or this little baby that will turn into a man, is working on refining his sense of masculinity. So he'll go through periods where it'll be highs and lows. Another thing, I do think this will affect his relationships personally. I absolutely do think that when he does date and gets into relationships, that he will have to work through these wounds, and he will have significant healing to do as he gets into relationships as an older man. But again, everything he's contracted here to do, all of this is leading him to come into a softer, gentler, compassionate space with his North Node in Pisces. Another thing that I think he's getting out of this contract is Cassie does have Jupiter in Pisces, which is opening and creating a safe space for him to explore his creativity and his fluidity, and I say fluidity in the form of being in the natural cycles, in nature's cycles. So moving more away from a rigid existence into one that is more in sync and encyclical with the universe. So if I was his mother, if I was Cassie, right, I would definitely anchor him into creative activities, creative arts, and things that will allow that flow to come out in any way that he wishes, right? So I think this relationship is very fascinating, and it really pulled me in because I wanted to know what this was like for them. Um, I think this is what I see for the most part. I would love to hear your guys' feedback and story. What do you guys think of this relationship? What do you guys pick up? You guys are seeing the charts here. Anything that stands out to you, let me know in the comments. This was a blind read. I had not looked at this or studied this beforehand. So I'm pretty sure that there's a bajillion more things that we could see. But let me know who you want me to do next. Let me know if you want me to do Diddy and Cassie all birth charts and synastry, because I will. Let me know what any other celebrities you want me to do. I will absolutely be at your service. Absolutely be at your service. Okay. Have a great day. Also, I want a quick shout out to say you can access daily horoscopes on my website. If you go to briasamai.com, actually, why don't we go together? If you go to briasamai.com, you can access my daily horoscopes over here, and you can expect to see them every day. You can read them. Now, if you subscribe to my Substack, you will be able to listen to my voice horoscopes that I do every single day. You're also able to get mentored by me with joining Cosmic Alchemy Academy, which is where everybody is, and you're able to be in a group mentorship where I do classes every Saturday. That's a really fun place to be. And if you're interested in a private session, absolutely go book a session with me on my website, briasami.com, where we can talk and talk and talk and talk in detail. And so, yeah. Also, if you would love to get to know yourself, I promise that ChatGPT isn't offering this yet. This is my karmic patterns report, which I'm going to put a little glyph here. My karmic patterns report is ideal for you to get to know your karmic signatures. If you can't get a reading with me, you want to do this report because it is so detailed. And karmic astrology is like, I don't know if it's going to get big or not, but I fully believe in it because it has helped me and my clients so much. So you guys are able to get your copies. This is 50% off on my website. And if you get it, if I can keep up with them, you will get it almost overnight because I work on these every single morning and they are chef's kiss. It's my number one bestseller on my website for a reason because it is so good, so detailed, and eye awakening. All right, friends, I love you guys so much. I'll see you on TikTok live streams to do readings every single day. Add me everywhere. Enjoy your free horoscopes. I love you so much. Take care. Bye bye.